Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dugout Debrief, where I'll be breaking down a game from the Major League Baseball season. Today it is April 23rd, 2026, and I'll be breaking down the San Diego Padres versus Colorado Rockies baseball game. So jumping right in, the Colorado Rockies had a pretty hot offensive start, while the Padres took a 2-1 lead to begin the game. That second inning, Matt Waldron kind of got pieced up there from likes of TJ Rumfield. Mickey Moniak went yard in that inning, and just a lot of different contributions from other players. Well, the story is Mickey Moniak today going crazy, getting 4 hits on the day, 2 of them being home runs. It's also a story to kind of talk about TJ Rumfield. This is kind of cool to see him get back on track here. Now, granted, it was Matt Waldron on the mound, but he, kind of had a hot start to begin the season and then tapered off a little bit and kind of came back down to level, so you could say. But it's great to see guys like Mickey Moniak kind of getting things going for this pretty young Colorado Rockies starting roster. Now moving on from TJ Rumfield, I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into Mickey Moniak as a player as a whole. I mean, former first-round pick, he was kind of written off by other teams like the Phillies and the Angels, and now kind of getting almost a career resurgence with the Rockies here. Now, it's obviously still really early in the season, but he's still pretty young. He's still in his 20s, and it's really cool to see him kind of pick things up. And obviously, this is a hitter-friendly ballpark. To see him starting off with a pretty high batting average, moving into a 964 OPS with a 153 OPS plus. Those are things that you really like to see for a guy in the middle of a lineup that kind of doesn't really get the appreciation that he should, especially from moving on from those teams like the Phillies and the Angels. Another key piece here is I wanted to talk about Troy Johnston. On the season, he's really been lighting it up, seeing that batting average creep over 300 in OPS into the 800s. While he's not going to be your massive slugging guy hitting a ton of home runs, he's going to be finding holes in the middle of the outfield, and he does a good job at kind of keeping things in play. And he's also still on the younger side at 28 years old. So it's definitely a talking point to see these guys in the middle of this lineup kind of get going and be contributors in this young season. Another topic of discussion, Xander Bogaerts. He's been great this season. He's obviously been great his entire career, but what seems like not nearly the tail end of his career, but there's been some injury issues over the last kind of couple years that really hasn't kept him out of games necessarily, but his level of play has kind of tapered off a little bit, and it was pretty cool to see if this former Red Sox kind of keep things going, and he's just been so consistent for this Padres team. All right, so moving on from some of the play in the batter's box, a lot of sloppy defensive play, and especially in the outfield. You saw a lot of guys misjudging balls. Granted, you have guys like Tatis in the outfield making a few of those different kind of wrong adjustments, playing balls off the wall wrong, and not necessarily getting a good jump on some of these fly balls. But you even see it on there's kind of a knuckleball play to McCarthy out in center field, and he just misjudged it wrong, and that brought in a run and had a guy in scoring position immediately, and that's something that you really can't afford in a ballpark like Coors Field, because getting the ball up in the air is just it'll carry, and it's nearly just a guaranteed run. And so making mistakes like that is not what this Rockies team needs, especially with the state of the bullpen right now. Heading back to the hitting conversation, and this is also kind of goes for defenses as well and how to kind of combat this, but bunting has been so much more apparent in today's major leagues. You really didn't see a lot of it last year, and a lot of these new teams are kind of adopting the small ball approach to this young season. And I'm not sure if it's playing the numbers or if it's obviously just getting guys in the correct positions to succeed. But it's it's a proven fact that these guys can move runners over and get guys in the right positions to do the right things. There's been kind of some word on the street saying that not a lot of these teams really practice bunt defense. So it's just kind of something that I wanted to touch on, and I hope that these teams can kind of figure the bunt defense aspect of it out. But it's definitely interesting to see this kind of side of the game offensively come out, especially with guys like Yordan Alvarez and guys of the past like Joey Gallo that really just were kind of appreciated because of their sheer numbers slugging wise. They weren't really necessarily hitting for average. They didn't have a whole ton of guys that could really just put the bat on the ball and get balls in play and leg things out, barrel up balls. And now you're kind of seeing that a lot with guys like McGonigal up in Detroit. He's not going to be hitting for a whole ton of power, but he's going to be getting the ball in play and hitting for average at a big rate. So it's cool to see the game sort of change in this young season.
All right, so there's two more things I really wanted to touch on with this game, and one of those things being Gavin Sheets. He's not really having the greatest year. He's actually got a negative .4 WAR right now in 23 games. And, the batting average isn't great. The OPS it's all right. Slugging's okay for kind of the average and output that he's giving out, but it's insane to see this guy just come up in that moment on his birthday, and that Don Orsillo call, the Holy Sheets call on that walk-off, and to hit this go-ahead home run to take the lead in the top of the ninth. It really was just like, obviously, the knife kind of just right into the back of the Rockies after backdooring 5 runs in the top of the ninth is not really what this team was expecting. Just kind of the way the game was going on, but it's insane to see some guys really just come up in the big moment like that, and that could be a point of consistency for this Padres team. And if they're going to keep on winning these games, then this continues throughout the rest of the summer and into the fall. This team could really make some noise. The last thing I wanted to bring up was a point that I've been kind of thinking about whenever I've been watching this Rockies team, especially at home this year, and that brings up the question: are the Rockies only good offensively at home? So, kind of just like looking at the stats, putting together some different points of emphasis on. Obviously, it's Coors Field. That's going to play a little bit of a role, but runs being scored wise from this team, there hasn't been a whole ton of guys that are just mashing home runs, and so I don't know if that necessarily brings Coors Field out of play in this situation, but in the 26 games I believe that this Rockies team has played, they've scored 62 runs at home and 49 runs on the road. That's a whole run on average more at home than on the road. So that's not nearly as big of a factor as one may think, but it's definitely still something to talk about with this Rockies team. And obviously with the pitching staff not being where they want it to be, this young team can kind of look forward to getting back into games in Colorado and making headway on getting that games back number in the NL West to a better number. I saw a tweet that said it's kind of fun seeing a team that's just bad versus historically bad, and that's what kind of Rockies fans can kind of be thinking about with this season. They're not going to be contending in any way for the NL West or a wild card spot, I don't think. But it's still a young season. Who knows? Anything could happen. But that's the way that this year is going for this team. All right, so that's pretty much it for this episode of Dugout Debrief. If you'd like any more, or have any requests of different types of teams you'd like me to debrief, please let me know down below. And hope you guys enjoy the video. Thanks a lot.